The house slept. Moonlight spilled through the window, painting stripes on the hallway floor. Each tick of the clock felt heavy, echoing in the quiet. Lily's heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic rhythm against the stillness of the night. She stood outside his door. Her hand trembled as she reached for the knob. A jumble of words swam in her head, words of love, of longing, of a connection she felt deep in her soul. He would understand, she thought. He had to. He was the only one who truly saw her, who listened to her dreams and fears. Her mother, lost in her own world of grief, barely looked at her. But he was different. He was her confidant, her rock, the sun in her otherwise grey sky. Taking a deep breath, Lily opened the door, the hinges whispering a warning into the night. The scent of his aftershave, a mix of sandalwood and citrus, washed over her, sending a tremor through her. It was now or never. Lily had never felt so nervous, so vulnerable. Her throat felt dry, the words catching like thorns. She took a step closer, her hand reaching out as if to touch the moonbeams dancing on his sleeping face. I think I'm in love with you, she whispered, the words barely audible in the quiet room. Her heart ached with a confusing mix of emotions, fear, excitement, and a desperate longing for something she didn't fully understand. It wasn't the conventional kind of love she knew. It wasn't like the love stories in her books or the ones her friends giggled about. It was deeper, more profound. It was the feeling of safety, of being understood, of finally finding a place where she belonged. He shifted in his sleep, murmuring something in his dreams. Lily held her breath, her eyes glued to his face, waiting for him to wake up and tell her that he felt it too. This connection, this undeniable pull that bound them together. The floorboard creaked, the sound exploding in the quiet room like a gunshot. Lily froze, her blood turning to ice as a dark figure emerged from the hallway. Her brother, Mark, stood silhouetted in the doorway, his face unreadable in the shadows. What the hell is going on here? Mark's voice was a low growl, laced with suspicion and a rage that sent chills down Lily's spine. His eyes darted between Lily and the man on the bed, his gaze lingering on their intertwined shadows on the wall. Before Lily could utter a word, before she could even process the venomous look in her brother's eyes, Mark lunged. His hand shot out, grabbing her arm with a force that made her cry out. "Get out!" he hissed, pulling her away from the bed with a violence that belied his usual calm demeanor. Panic clawed at Lily's throat. "Mark, stop! You don't understand!" she cried, trying to wriggle free from his grip. But her words were lost in the sudden chaos that erupted in the room. The room became a whirlwind of motion. Her stepfather, startled awake by the commotion, sat up in bed, his eyes wide with confusion. Before he could comprehend the situation, Mark was upon him, his fist connecting with his jaw with a sickening thud. Lily screamed, her voice raw with terror as she watched the two men grapple in the dim light. Shadows danced on the walls, grotesque puppets acting out a scene of unimaginable violence. Her heart pounded against her ribs, each beat a drumbeat of fear echoing in her ears. "Mark, no!" she shrieked, reaching out to pull her brother back, but he shoved her away, his face contorted with a rage she had never witnessed before. The fight spilled out of the bedroom, furniture overturning, glass shattering, the sounds of their struggle piercing the quiet house like shards of ice. And then, silence. A silence so profound, so absolute, that it felt like the world itself had stopped breathing. Lily stood frozen in the doorway, her breath caught in her throat, her eyes wide with a horror that threatened to consume her.